Hey, good morning, everybody. Lee Brower here, and welcome to this week's edition of Meaningful Monday. I am grateful to be here, and I am glad to be here. And I'm following up on my commitment from last week. Remember last week we talked about driving your car up this steep hill, and out of nowhere it gets knocked into neutral. And so you start to slide back, you slow down, and then you slide back. And as you're sliding back, you start looking in your rearview mirror and you go, oh, I'm going the wrong way. And so you start making decisions out your rearview mirror instead of out your front mirror. And then you put out your foot on the gas thinking that's going to really do it. And it just revs the engine up and you go nowhere. That's where you talk about being busy, but you're not being effective. You're not being efficient. Being busy doesn't mean you're getting things done. You're just revving that engine. And you have that feeling like there's something bigger out there for you, and then you're just kind of stuck. And we talked about what are those things that get you from being stuck. Well, let's talk a second for what does it mean? What are those things that get you stuck, that knock your car into neutral? One is you can't see the road ahead. All of a sudden you can't see the road ahead, and so you take your foot off, and the next thing you know, you're in neutral and you're drifting back. It's when you play the if and when game. You start to get into neutral. If that hadn't happened to me, you know where I'd be today? Or the blame game, oh, I can hardly wait. Man, when that happens, I'm going to be so awesome. But if and when don't happen. Those are things that you have to make happen. Those are things you have to push it into drive to make it go. Maybe you're just overwhelmed. Maybe things are uncertain to you. Or maybe you've got that disease of catastropheitis, where everything seems to be a catastrophe no matter what. And then there's the fear of failure. It paralyzes you. Or the fear of success. It paralyzes you. But when you have that feeling of stuck, how do you get out of that? Well, we talked about last time, the number one thing that you can do as a leader, if the leaders can't get stuck, they've got to be able to see the future, see around corners. Albert St. George said, discovery consists of seeing what everybody has seen, yet thinking what nobody's thought. You have to have that vision that moves you forward, that vision that has no destination. It's able to grow and grow, and you make your decisions and choices against it. Always make your future bigger than your past. I love that quote by Dan Sullivan. Always make your future bigger than your past. But I talked to you about the second thing, and the second thing is really the key. Yes, you have to have that vision, but sometimes you need to do number 2 first to get that vision. And that vision is to be in gratitude. Now, let me quickly tell you the phases of gratitude so you can understand that. The lowest phase is ungratefulness. And you might say, well, I'm never ungrateful. But gratitude unexpressed is ingratitude perceived. So you may not see yourself as ungrateful. But if you don't express it, others will think you're ungrateful. So you may be in that stage. The second stage is the one that your mom told you all about. It's that stage of social gratitude, respect, please and thank you, sincerely, and it moves you up that ladder. The next one is appreciative gratitude. Appreciative gratitude is where you truly, truly elevate things in value by noticing those things around you that you really appreciate. But there's a risk with that, and the risk is that you start to compare. I'm grateful for my health as compared to what? I'm grateful for the weather as compared to what? And so you have that I'm grateful for, which oftentimes involves comparison, which also times involves expectation. And if I'm constantly comparing to something, then that's not moving me up the ladder. It's keeping me in neutral. Have you ever given something to somebody and you didn't like what they did with it? So you said, well, that's the last time I'm giving something to them. See, you were in neutral. You were in neutral. It was all about you, which takes us to the highest level, what I call arrows out, or the empowered gratitude, which is really all about arrows out. How do you point the arrows out? Those people that are happiness, those people that have meaningfulness in their life, and those people that get unstuck, move into a space of being in gratitude, not having to have expectation and not having to have comparison. So how do you develop habits of practice of being in gratitude? Well, the one thing is you ask for it. For example, can I be the answer to somebody's prayer today? Ask that question and just park it and see what happens. Who can I see today that I wouldn't normally see? Or can I reach out to somebody without expecting anything in return and be able to do that? And we get to see examples of that all the time. But unless our eyes are open, you won't even see them. How many people do you see buy a meal for somebody unexpectedly and anonymously? That's arrows out. How many people do you see reaching out for somebody that needs some help? That's arrows out. And it happens all around us. And it's the biggest antidote. What do you call it? Antidote? It's the biggest solution to being stuck is to turn your arrows out. What can I do today to bless the life of somebody else? That's the best thing you can do to get unstuck. But the vision of where you're going, that vision of creating something bigger, unattainable almost, but it gets you into motion and you get that energy of throwing it into drive by asking, what are those things that I can do for other people today? We've got more to talk about on this. Arrows out is extremely powerful. Join me next week as we go a little bit deeper into this. And thank you for being here with me today. Have a great week.